There was somebody who will remain nameless because I brought this person up on the show. But anyway, this person was saying that that someone suggested that she do a Patreon for her feet or a OnlyFans, and she was like, "Oh, that's rah, 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 rah." Let me tell you, if someone wants to pay me $100
Same.
every 5 minutes for looking at my feet,
Yep.
have at it.
Same.
But you
So
don't know what they're doing.
who cares?
They're paying me $100,
As
and
long
my
as
feet
long,
are.
as long as they don't send us videos of what they're doing.
That's
In
yes,
fact,
100.
do you know what? If they want to pay me an extra $100 and send the video to me, I'm okay with that as well.
All right. Well, we'll tag team this.
Exactly, for an extra $100. Does that person's name begin with a V by any chance?
You
Possibly.
know what?
Possibly.
You know what? Yeah, it's I shall just let her remain nameless.
So yeah, shout out to Victoria.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well.
So how
Yeah.
are you, man?
I am doing all right. I'm doing a lot better. I've got over my whatever it is, pretty much. How's everything health wise on your neck of the woods? Because there were a couple of people poorly as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I still have these coughing fits periodically, but other than that, doing all right. I think my dad probably healed faster than you or I put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like 1 week later, he was like, "You ready to go walk?" And yeah, nope, not ready yet. So
Took me. I think I'm in my 9th week now, so I think it took me about 8 weeks to be able to go, okay, it's all by me now. I'm still weird with some foods. It's like drinking a cup of tea. It's like, no, I'm good, thanks. Just makes me feel a bit off.
Does it make you feel nauseous?
Makes me feel nauseous, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's one thing that kind of lets me know that I probably do have COVID is just that nausea, man, where
it's
don't
not
feel
nauseous
like
when I taste it. When I'm drinking it,
really?
it's fine. It's when it hits, when it's like inside, I'm like, oh, maybe shouldn't have drunk that. It's too late then. There's not a lot you can do about it. And if I have too much bread in a day, I'm like, oh, I feel very sluggish. So yeah, I'm still not quite there, but
yeah, I have an early warning system, so it just it's like I think I want to eat this. No, you don't. Okay, I don't. That's but yeah, man, that was the thing when I had COVID the first time was just I felt nauseous every time I thought of eating. And then I would try to eat, and then after a bite, I just was done. So I probably dropped easily 15 to 20 pounds. Not the right way to drop weight like that, but man, you don't feel like eating. So.
I think that's what worried Annette the most because she could tell that I was dropping weight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course I'm dropping weight. I'm like having a biscuit for lunch. It's that sort of a biscuit. Of course I'm gonna drop weight. It's like, what did you have for breakfast? I looked at a biscuit. Did you eat the biscuit? Oh no, I wasn't hungry. And then with the food thing, you would look at or even think about food, and you go, I'm good, thanks. I don't want a really tasty hamburger. I'm okay, even though I love them. I don't want one. So you would have to force yourself to eat, going. Ugh. And then you get halfway through the meal and you go, actually, it's quite nice. But the whole thought of what do I fancy for lunch? Nothing. That was like me for a few weeks. So very, very weird.
Yeah, and Michelle's an excellent cook. So for me to turn down her food, I really feel bad. So
yeah. So other than that, we can put the health stuff behind us to a certain extent. Because otherwise people are like, oh, they bleating on about how poorly they are again. These old folks. What's wrong with old men? I finally got around to watching Ahsoka.
What'd you think?
Well, I held off watching it because when it was coming out and when it was airing, people were like, "Oh no, you've got to see Rebels and you've got to watch these episodes of Clone Wars." And I'm like, I'm not doing. I ain't doing no homework for a show. Yeah. I'm not interested. But because I'm on a special offer for Disney Plus, which I'm on another one, it's great. I cancelled my £2.41 a month for Disney Plus because it was 3 months. I'm like, no, it's coming to the end. So I cancelled it. And then a day later, I got an email from Disney going, how would you like Disney Plus for £1.99 for the next 3 months? I'm like, I'll have some of that. So I'm going back onto Disney Plus. So I'm catching up on some of the Star Wars stuff. And I went to Ahsoka. I'd seen Ahsoka's appearance in season 2 of The Mandalorian, I think it was.
Yeah.
So that was all I knew about Ahsoka, and the fact Rosario Dawson was playing Ahsoka. So I went
Which
in
is, to me, more than enough reason to watch Ahsoka. But carry on,
pretty much.
yeah.
So I went in fully cold. I've
Yeah.
never seen an episode of Rebels, still haven't. Never seen an episode of Clone Wars, still haven't. I'm like, okay,
They're
let's
good. They're really
let's see
good.
how
Yeah.
complicated this show is. I didn't
Right.
really struggle.
No.
There were a couple
Yeah.
of points where I had to pick the phone up and go, let me just go. I'm going to ruin it for anybody mildly ruin it for anybody who's not seen Ahsoka, because whatever. But I'm like, hang on, Anakin's in it. When is Ahsoka set? Oh, and then it would make sense, because it's like, because it's all over the place, because it's a new show from like last year, but it's set before. After the prequel, I see. Even now, I'm like, what the flip? And it doesn't help when you've had COVID brain fog either. Like, this is going to be a nosebleed. So it's set after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so it's set after Return of the Jedi. Why does Anakin look like that? Okay, I'm confused again. So other than that part, I was fine, and I really liked Ahsoka. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought there were some really good characters in it. I hadn't realized that one of the, is it Baelor? I think he's called Lord Baelor, like one of the villains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's amazing. What else is? Oh, he's Ray Stevenson. He died.
Yes.
And that's the first thing that I remember him being in. I'm like, he's amazing, that character. I want to see more of him. Fortunately,
if you watch the first 2 Thor movies, he is the pal that eats a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I was trying to think what else he was in. He was also in my least favorite Punisher movie,
the Warzone.
I think that was mainly because the director was female and she was a kickboxer, but she thought he should cry a lot. And I was, man, it's kind of like Wolverine crying. I remember the one comic book where he actually thought maybe he had a chance with Jean Grey, and she was in the hospital, and he shows up. This is during his cowboy hat wearing days, and he shows up with flowers, and then of course Scott is in there, and he's just like throws the flowers away, goes drinking. That's just how some of these characters in the Marvel universe deal with things. So
Ray was great. I liked the world that Ahsoka built. I liked and I've forgotten her name, the Green General. She was great. The wore the X-wing pants. She was a really good character.
Right.
I should have written her name down, but I've just forgotten. So.
Well, that's Ewan McGregor's wife. Or
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
She plays her. Okay,
yeah.
But it was good.
Then if you haven't seen, what is it, A Man in Moscow, whatever that Ewan McGregor thing is, really good, and she's in that too. So it must be nice when you can do a project with your love. So
yes. So you don't really need to have seen all these things to watch them. There are a couple of instances, like I said, the one I Googled when I'm like, okay, when is this damn thing set? I kind of wish they would put that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you know, like a timeline thing? And the Marvel do the same thing as well when you're like, when is this thing set? So unless you're an expert, which there are a lot of Star Wars and Marvel experts, I'm not one of them post-COVID. I wasn't one of them before COVID, to be fair. But with a foggy brain, it makes it a bit more tricky. But
Dave Filoni has really looked after that side of Star Wars, and at some point, I think it was when Ahsoka was maybe a week out from premiere, they posted something like, catch up on all these shows, and it was only like, I don't know, 4 or 5, just to let you know the relationship between Ahsoka and Anakin, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, which explains in the show anyway, doesn't it? So it's like, I wanted to go into Ahsoka purposely, not having seen anything. And I was chatting to Neil Johnson about it, and he's like, I'll be curious to see what you think, having never seen this other stuff. And I think a show, obviously, if you have seen it, you'll get more out of it because you'll recognize more. But you should also be able to go into something going, this is my launch pad. I should be able to ease into the world with this show. And I think you kind of can.
Yeah, I think so too. And I agree with you. I mean, when you can, it's kind of like Skyfall, which is an excellent Bond movie, but also a standalone. If you don't even know who Bond is, that really works. So
Whereas Quantum of Solace, you probably couldn't. You'd be like, what, who, what,
Yeah.
hey, what?
Yeah.
That feels like Casino Royale Part 2, doesn't it?
Right.
So I'm hoping we get a second season of Ahsoka, because it did kind of end with an Empire Strikes Back type ending where you're like, da-da-da-da, and I'm like, I hope we do get another one, because I want to see a lot of those, or as many characters come back as possible. So.
Well, and it was kind of funny. I was expecting eventually the actor who plays Amos on, oh my gosh, man, I'm not downstairs. I can't see my.
See, you've got the brain. Just blame everything on brain fog. It's fine. Blame everything. Everything gets blamed on brain fog for the rest of the year now. I'm like, there's a lot of COVID in it.
It was the most excellent sci-fi series I think I've ever seen, and it was on Amazon.
Expanse.
Yes. So the guy who played Amos was the Goldface trooper. And it never explained. I mean, you'd never know it. It was kind of like Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper, you know, unless you knew it, you know, because there was no big reveal or anything. And I didn't recognize his voice. But anyway, so as you're watching Ahsoka and some of these other shows, are you do you have all your action figures out? You know, so
well,
you play with them as you.
I did the action figure unboxing of the little X-wing pilot. I'm saying they're little because they are the 3.75. And I was part way through watching Ahsoka, so I'm doing this video going, don't know why there's X-wing pilots in it. I've not seen them in Ahsoka. And then sure enough, when they came on screen, I'm like, oh, I've got that one, that one, that one, and that one. But yeah, the action figures were there. They're pretty good little action figures, actually. I've enjoyed looking at some of them.
I've enjoyed watching you go through them. Quite envious as well, but man, I'm not the king of unboxing, as Hasbro calls you, I think. So
which figures do you prefer? Because I'm torn between the 3.75 ones and the 6. Because for the 3.75 you get twice as many.
Right.
Whereas 6-inch are bigger and they do look better. So I'm like, I don't know.
But I mean, some of the small ones though, I mean, you think about all the articulated points. So it's not like when you and I were kids and, it's like you had the elbow joint and it just simply went up and down. And then the legs, I mean, they just simply kicked up or down.
Of a lightsaber fight.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No.
Exactly. But now, I mean, you can even move the wrist and all this. So, I mean, I guess I like the larger figures just simply for the details, the extra details. Yeah. But you think about, Big Head Han in the original batch that came out, and they were like, it was small-headed Han and big-headed Han. I had both of those, and but yeah, man, I mean, it really didn't look like Han. It really didn't look like Luke. I think probably the farthest away from screen was R2-D2, who just, I mean, he didn't even look like Macquarie's sketches. I was like, wow, I don't even know. It kind of looks like a trash can with some round things. Yeah, that'll do it. That's R2-D2. So,
but our imagination filled in the blanks, didn't it? So
100%.
We didn't do too bad. But yeah, it was kind of cool seeing them on screen. And I'm like, I kind of wish I hadn't done the unboxing video until I'd seen them on screen, because then I could at least talk about them. But it was interesting watching Thrawn. Yeah. Because I read the Thrawn trilogy back in the 90s, I think, when the books came out. So I've read those 3 books, and every time I saw him on screen, I'm like, is that Elon Musk? Because he just looks like Elon Musk. I know it's Lars Mikkelsen, but I'm like, let me just see if Elon's been in a Disney show, because he really does kind of look and act like him a little bit. But he was a pretty good character, and everybody was going crazy when the Acolyte was on, going, how dare they have witches in it? Space witches. I'm like, it's kind of space witches in Ahsoka. Why is everybody?
Right. Yeah.
Did everybody go crazy at Ahsoka when it came out, or were they okay with it? Because a lot of the reasons they were going mad at the Acolyte, you go, well, most of the main characters in Ahsoka are women. There's space witches in it. I mean, it was probably better written than the Acolyte, and didn't look like a costume to me. But.
Yep. Well, and you had Dave Filoni at the helm, if I remember correctly, and so between he and Jon Favreau, I think it's just better quality than the Kathleen Kennedy stuff. And don't, I mean, I always say that with some apprehension, because I mean, she's given us a lot. She's worked on a lot of movies that are our faves, but yeah, man, I mean, like, I think because, did you ever see the Panderverse episode of South Park?
No.
Anyway, yeah, that I think that explains a lot. But I think Kathleen Kennedy wanted I almost said chick centric, a female centric, and they also had to have the two moms, which I think bothered
Yeah, it did.
probably the Disney crowd that buys Downy liquid or whatever, because you
Yeah.
remember back when we were kids, and it's like, oh, the 100 moms don't like that, so then they're gonna stop buying Downey, and then Downey goes, "Oh my gosh, you better cut that crap out," So,
Yep.
but yeah, it's so I think it was kind of slow. I think when I thought it was going to become a musical, when it was like, was it 1, 2, 3, kick him in the knee, we are witches.
Yeah.
I was waiting on Lion King to start up or something. I don't know. I was confused at that point, and I think my confusion ended with those lightsabers that just wouldn't stay lit, man. I mean,
Yeah.
like, we didn't have alkaline batteries back in the day. We just had normal, long lasting. So
Probably bought them from the same company that, I'm not going to talk about too political news, but probably
Right.
bought those lightsabers from the same companies where they all go.
Oh.
But anyway, that's dated this podcast episode if anybody's watching this next week. Crazy.
100%. Yep.
Crazy stuff.
Either that or I'll just say it. They probably got their batteries from Amazon.
Because exactly
if you buy batteries from Amazon, they are not as good. They may be cheap. You're getting like twice as much, but they run out twice as fast. So
yeah, it's a bit like an Ahsoka episode, which is 40 odd minutes, compared to an Acolyte one, which is about 12.
But did we not appreciate that?
I did. I really liked it. I went through all of Ahsoka in, I think, about 2-3 days, and I really enjoyed it. It's like next. So now I'm catching up on the Mandalorian season 3, which I'd seen the pilot episode when it aired, and then my Disney subscription ran out, and I'm like, it's not worth resubscribing just for one show. I'll catch it up at some point. And it's okay. It's fine. Yeah. I'm only 3 episodes in, and so I'm not quite sure what's going on. It seems to be very fetch questy. This episode, gotta go here, gotta go there, gotta go here. It's like, is there an overarching plot on this season or not? Who knows? I don't know.
But at least he has a cool ship.
He has a cool ship, and he's got a Grogu.
Yep.
So
Grogu's in the bubble going,
and that's all you need. And then you just have Grogu popping up every 12 minutes going, then you're fine. It's like, I'm in. I'll watch this for 20 minutes. Great.
It'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to do a movie that will wrap up The Mandalorian once and for all. But yeah, man, I mean, I thought it was great. I'm wondering if we're going to get another Book of Boba Fett. That would be kind of fun.
I don't think we are getting another one. Which I didn't mind the Book of Boba Fett either. I think my least favorite is the Acolyte, and I didn't hate the Acolyte. I was just like,
that was it.
It was fine. It's not great. I don't need to rewatch it.
3 letters, MEH.
Yeah. Meh. I'm not like, right, let's take to the keyboards. I need to set up a blog going, I hate the Acolyte. I'm not.
There's enough of those, man. Yeah. So, dude, with all the political stuff going on in the United States, is there the same kind of chaos over in England?
It was, but we've got a new government now, so.
Oh, you happy?
I personally am. The internet isn't. The internet's like, oh, this guy's useless. Get him out. It's like he's literally been there 2 months. Oh, nothing's changed. Been in there like 2 months. The other ones were in for 14 years. So let's, so I'm fine. It's like, things will change. You go on the internet and you look at the news stories and you're like, all right, let me see what really happened. Oh yeah, not that. Yeah. So I've just moved away from the whole political thing. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to watch. We're going to watch Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. And last night I watched an old Clint Eastwood film. Life's kind of.
Yeah, man.
I enjoy that part. I don't go, let me see what the world's mad about today. It's like, oh, I'm good, thanks. But
do you find yourself wanting to watch more comedies, more silly, lighthearted stuff? Or has your viewing, is it still just escapism? You're enjoying all sorts?
I'm enjoying all sorts. And but I'm enjoying rewatching films that I haven't seen for years.
Yeah.
So recently I've rewatched Reservoir Dogs, which I thoroughly enjoyed watching that again.
Yeah.
I did put on Pulp Fiction last week, and I'm like,
yeah,
no, I still prefer I don't know. I think my problem with Pulp Fiction is it's just fallen into pop culture too much.
Right. Yeah.
So when you watch it and you've seen it a few times, every bit of dialogue, you're like, oh yeah, I've heard people quoting that for the past 15 years. So it kind of annoys me a little bit. And the rear projection on some of it, you're like, that's really bad rear projection. So I'm hit and miss with Tarantino. I like some of his stuff, but others, it's like, just leave your ego at the door and just make a film. He's like, oh, look, I'm in it. Get out of it. And my Clint Eastwood films, I watched last night, I rewatched Two Mules for Sister Sarah, which I haven't seen for years.
Wow, man, that's a good one.
So him and Shirley MacLaine, 1970, he rescues a nun from being attacked, and then they team up and they end up, just doing westerny things together. But I enjoy it. I don't think I've seen a Clint Eastwood film where I thought, well, that was bad.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I even rewatched Pink Cadillac earlier on this year, and I'm like, this is probably one of the worst ones people talk about. And I'm like, it's still kind of good. Clint Eastwood's in it, so he could be my favorite rewatchable actor, because I've got a couple of box sets, so I've probably got about 50 of his films. And I've rewatched Firefox and all the Dirty Harry movies, and you're like, they're all really, really good. I don't care what the guy's politics is. Don't even know. He talks to chairs. Who knows? I don't know. Something like that.
It's probably better conversations. I had a discussion about that the other day with somebody, and anyway, I mean, we all have the internal conflict, but I made the joke about when the movies that I directed, I was also the DP. And I was asked, why are you doing so much, man? And of course, Neil will tell you too. There's less conflict on the set when two are one, versus move the camera over here. Oh, it can't be done. Yeah, the hell it can. I fired one cinematographer who is still a good friend of mine, but he pissed me off because I was like, all right, I'm set up here, you go set up over there. Won't work. I said, yeah, it will. No, it won't. I said, well, I'm gonna go set up your camera and I'm gonna set it to record and you can leave. And he did.
Because the difference is you were directing, but you also you know how to be a DP. So it's not like, I'll direct it. Oh, I'm sure I know how to set a camera. I don't. So you know what you're talking about. So they should listen to you.
Yeah, man. Well, that was back to where everything was guerrilla style. So you just set it up, you shoot, and then you run before the cops get there, before someone realizes you've been on their property.
So viewing habits. My viewing habits. There's comedies. There's not as many comedies around as there used to be. They used to be everywhere. Now you've got to really hunt for them, or go back and watch a classic one like American Pie or something. But
Michelle and I watched Heat the other day, and I was amazed when the opening credits, and it was all the names that were in the movie. And it was one after another, and solid movie. And I remember watching it, but I just remember little like snapshots. I could not remember the storyline, who was good, who was bad. Wow. And so, man, that was because I don't think I'd seen it since the movie theater.
Really?
And so that was fun. And then Michelle had been wanting to watch Police Academy. So we watched Police Academy, and that was absurd, but it was very 80s, and it was exactly what we knew we were getting into. So
it's the nostalgia film watching. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And when you're movie fans like we are, then when we see a movie, we remember where we were, what we potentially what we had in the movie theater and all that. And
I sat down the other night and we watched the new Crow.
Oh, how was it?
We really, really enjoyed it. Which I'm watching it and I'm like, as soon as I put this online, I watched The Crow, and I'm just gonna get flooded by people telling me I'm wrong, and I couldn't like it, and it was terrible. And it's like, it really isn't bad at all. It was really good. It's if you go into watching it, just do not compare it to the Brandon Lee one.
This is a lot darker
in any way at all, as in like
Yeah.
storyline. I mean, Annette couldn't really remember the Brandon Lee one. She's like, I know I've seen it, but I can't really remember much about it. And we were watching it like 45 minutes into the film, and she's like, is this a lot different from the first one? I said, well, we're about halfway through this film now, and it hasn't even got to the beginning of the Brandon Lee Crow.
Wow.
So there's a lot of backstory and stuff in it. And visually, it's stunning. It's got a great soundtrack. Skarsgård does a really good job playing the title role of Eric. Yeah. But it's so different to the Brandon Lee one.
Yeah.
In every way. And there was one weird bit in it. Danny Huston plays the main villain. I like Danny Huston from Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh,
Yellowstone season 1. So I'm like, oh, I like that guy. And he does something within the film at one point, and it's quite early on. And I remember looking at Annette, I'm like, oh, what have they done? I don't mean they're the character. I mean the filmmakers. I'm like, oh no, they're not going down this route, are they? But then when you go, well, hang on a minute. So he's done something a bit weird. But at the end of the day, the old Crow and the new Crow are about a dead guy that comes back to avenge people. And I'm like, yeah, the thing he's done isn't kind of weird. It does fit in with the film. But it threw me for a minute because I'm like, oh, no, they didn't do that in the Brandon Lee one. But they probably would have done. So there's just one little instance. Yeah. But it's very different. It's visually, it looks like a feature-length music video. I would be surprised if the director hasn't got a background in music videos.
Yeah.
But then you watch it and you go, we've both enjoyed it. And Annette's not shy. She'll be like, what a pile of crap that was. If it's terrible, she's not shy about that. Whereas me, I'll go, yes, but the last 3 minutes were really good. So therefore it gets a 5 out of 5. And I sort of thought, I don't get what people watch. I know that everybody's taste is different.
Right, yeah.
But pretty much the entire internet went after this film going, kill it. They should never do it. And I'm like, what did they watch? Or what did they see that I didn't? I mean, half of them didn't watch it anyway, but I liked it. And it's a shame it bombed at the box office. But
dude, same thing with Borderlands. I mean, like that was fun. And I think you and I were discussing on the last podcast the trailer and that it tanked at the box office. Yeah. And I was in my mind, I'm like, well, they oversold via the trailer, but they did not oversell, man. It was good. Yeah. And it's not Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not supposed to be. And it is fun and it is hilarious. And yet the characters will move you and you care, and they're crazy dysfunctional, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. So, but I mean, they come together, man, and bond, and man, it was good. I don't know that they're going to do another one. I kind of doubt it.
I don't think we're getting Borderlands 2 anytime soon. I think Lionsgate, like, you know what, let's just delete the Crow, delete Borderlands, stop putting fake AI quotes on Megalopolis trailers. Madness. But I would check out the Crow. Really would. Okay.
It's in my queue. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So we've been distracted. Slow Horses is back on, which is really good. I think it's season 3, and man, that is one of those that you enjoy the ride, but they always smack you at the end with this big cliffhanger, and you want to be able to binge it. You wish that it was on Netflix versus Apple. But so that's been good. What else? Somehow, and I don't know how long Vikings Valhalla this season, the last season or whatever, has been on Netflix. But we stumbled upon it, and so we're watching that. Terminator Zero. I don't know if you've checked that out.
I've not seen that, but I've heard good things.
Yep. It's anime, and I'm not always the biggest fan of anime because it's like, I'm gonna kill you. Blink, blink. I'm scared. And so I mean, there are aspects of anime that but it's been good. Pays a lot of homage to the original Terminator 1 and 2, and and in fact, I'm playing Gears of War yet again. Okay. And so anyway, my son sent me a code so I could download the Terminator Dark Fate characters for Gears of War.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So evidently I didn't wait long enough. I thought they're just skins and geometry. How long does this take? But evidently there's, voices and all this stuff. So anyway, Sarah Connor was there when I looked at it earlier. So sounds like her, acts like her. I accidentally threw a grenade very close to her, and she said, "Oof," very much like Sarah Connor would have.
Wow.
So.
And then this will be Xbox, won't it? Gears of War, you're playing it on.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Are you saving up your money to buy a $700 PlayStation Pro with no disc drive and no plastic stand, perhaps?
No, man. PlayStation kind of lost me when they were like, "Oh, legacy? No, you can't play any of your old games," which has always, that's why I've stuck with Xbox. I do have a PS5. I don't remember, man, but 4 or 5, I can't remember. But
is it a white one or a black one?
It's a black one.
That'd be 4 then, I think.
God.
And like, the 5's got the white. It's a big, ugly looking thing.
Oh.
That looks like a big version. Do you remember in Wall-E, the other one? Is it Eve? Kind of looks like that lying down. So it's not the most attractive. That's the one I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mine is the one where you turn it on one side and the disc comes out the other side. So it's almost like a Rubik's Cube. It's just like, what the hell's going on?
It's like a Hellraiser box.
It really is. Yeah, man. Versus the Xbox, it's, the One S, I don't even know anymore. But anyway, so.
Welcome to John Fouts' gaming podcast, where he talks about his 24 hours a day gaming habit.
There you go. Oh my goodness.
Hey.
I don't know what Lily needs, but evidently she needs to be on the show. So.
Well, that's fine. We'll guest host Lily.
Steven. Oh my goodness. Twist around. And then she starts looking really big.
I know. Those on the audio feed are like, what the hell are these two smoking? But yeah, $700 for a PlayStation Pro. No.
Dude, I mean, and with some of the things that have been blowing up, not in this country. There was a friend who said that they were looking forward to getting the 16 iPhone 16 up until all this happened, and they said they're going to stop at the 15 now. And I'm just like, everything's not going to explode, or at least we hope not. So
just don't buy it from a European website is probably my advice, which seems to be where a lot of these dodgy gadgets came from.
Yeah.
But it's just it's some Mission Impossible craziness, that, isn't it?
It really is, man. And I mean, you're talking a little bitty device. And when I was walking with my dad the other day, he told me the story, and he was like, "Yeah, pagers, whatever. I don't want to.
YouTube
on YouTube. Yeah, really. So hopefully pager explosion sound is okay. And I'm sorry for. I mean, like, I'm not meaning to make light of anybody.
No.
But he was telling me that, and I was like, a pager? No, there's no way. And
lots of pagers, 3,000 pagers. And then the day after, it was walkie-talkies. So it's like, I don't know what's going to be tomorrow. So PS5s, probably.
I don't know.
It's crazy. It makes you just... It makes you just not want to turn the news on. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and just ignore all this craziness, because it's
right, and watch more TV. That was another thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine who does a lot of music creation, and I've used a lot of his stuff in different short films and feature films and stuff. And but anyway, we were talking about the escapism that we all enjoy, whether it's video games, music, or visual entertainment.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I forget what his comment was, but I was like, yes, if we create, we give the world more things to be addicted to. So
yes. Exactly. That's one of the upsides to my COVID battle, if there is an upside,
right,
is whenever I'm on the smartphone too much, it just messes up I get dizzy or just feel a bit weird or whatever. So I'm not on that as much. And I'm kind of like it that I'll just get up in the morning, check my emails, just put the phone on silent, put it down.
Yeah.
Go about my business for a whole bunch of hours, come up, check my emails again. Whereas before it'd be like, Let me just eat my tea. It's
Right.
constantly, might as well strap it to my head. So there's that.
That's when you want a HUD, right? You
yeah,
just,
exactly. So I'm good with that. It's just like, forget it.
Yeah. It's funny how insulted people get when you put your phone on Do Not Disturb. And
Yeah.
then they try to text you and they're just like, oh, well. And that's usually when I get at least one phone call. And I'm like, no, 15 people are texting as though they have nothing better to do. So.
And it's like, if you've got your phone on loud, it's like email, beep, Twitter, beep, Facebook, beep, Instagram, beep, everything. And I'm like, no, I don't want to constantly be going, let me just pause this movie and check to see.
Right.
So most of the day, actually, my phone is on silent. And then when I am waiting for a phone call, like last week, I was waiting for a doctor's call. Because 2 weeks previous, they took not all my blood, obviously. They took some of it. It took a bunch of it, and they were running tests, and they were phoning me up to do the results. Switched the internet off, put the phone on loud. Therefore, it was fine. And she phoned up, and she's like, "Everything's fine, except your cholesterol. That's pretty bad." I'm like, "Who knew pizzas and burgers were bad for you? Now I know. Nobody ever told me. That's fine." So I've got 6 months to try and get that.
If that was full of good or bad cholesterol, pizzas.
I think she didn't seem too impressed with my cholesterol, because she said it's like 6 point something. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Oh, wow, man.
But no, it's not good. I'm like, okay, is it really bad? She went, well, it's not really bad. I said, well, I'm changing what I eat and stuff. She said, well, I'll speak to you again in 6 months if you're still around. Okay, maybe she thought I was moving house or something. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So there was that. So anything else exciting that you've watched?
Let's crank up the old iPad.
See, I have a sheet of paper. That's pretty much.
I know, man. And you know what?
Old school.
When it comes to work, I print out everything and I mark it up, and then I will use. I found that if I just have the yellow and the blue highlighters, and then when I overlap, I get green. So there's a bonus color from only 2 markers. Let's see here. Rings of Power.
Season 2.
That's been good. Bad Monkey is hilarious. That's on Apple TV.
I need to check that out. You'd mentioned that before.
Of course, Slow Horses, Vikings, Valhalla, Terminator Zero, Borderlands. I did pretty damn good remembering this stuff without even looking at my list. And then, of course, Ordinary Angels, which you recommended last time, and that was awesome. Dude, I like that movie so good that I ordered a Blu-ray for me, a Blu-ray for my parents, and a DVD for Michelle's technology impaired parents. Yeah.
How good was that movie, though? We need to spend a few minutes talking about that.
Oh, dude. Just, I mean, like, if you want it, I guess, I never know how. I mean, you recommended that highly, so I had, I set the bar high. But I mean, you never know when you're getting into something like that. Is it going to turn cheesy? Is there going to be this moment where, the I can't remember the actress's name, but Touched by an Angel, where it's like it's cheesy, and then they step into these light beams. Oh, we're an angel, and then it's like. And I didn't want that to happen. I just wanted it to be ordinary people, but it was Ordinary Angel.
It was Ordinary Angel. I recommended that film to Rob, who used to be on the podcast, because it's right in his wheelhouse. He loves films where good people are doing good things for each other, and I'm like, so I recommended it. I said, you've got to watch this film. He said, what's it about? I'm like, don't worry about what it's about. Just watch it. Get it. Watch it.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to him earlier on in the week, and I said, did you watch the film? He went, yeah. He said, I don't know why I take recommendations from you, though. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, I put it on, and I had to switch it off after 2 minutes. It was just depressing. I'm like, what do you mean you switched it off? He said, well, at the very beginning, the wife passes away. I'm like, yeah, and that's not a spoiler, because that's literally right at the very beginning.
Right, yeah.
And then, like, one of the kids is ill. He said, I don't want to watch it. I said, I want to watch a film where it's about people doing good things for each other. And I'm like, that's what Ordinary Angels is. You need to go back and you need to watch it. And I literally had an argument with him. I'm like, that is, switch Star Wars off because I want the space film. That's Star Wars. Right. And he did say he was going to go back and watch it. But it was like, I mean, it's a drama, but it just felt like a thriller at one point. I'm like, oh my God. And me and Annette were watching it. She was like, run, quick, do this, do that, do it. And it was just, so far, it's my favorite film of the year.
Yeah, dude, it was relatively flawless, man. I really enjoyed it. And so did he turn off Guardians of the Galaxy? Because
Probably.
Will's mom dies right at the beginning of cancer too. So
he hasn't even seen all the Harry Potter films.
Oh, really? Well,
like,
I haven't either. So
what? Really? You don't watch them? Oh no.
No, I saw the first one, whatever that was called, Harry Potter: A New Beginning. I don't know. And then there was the Snake Cauldron or something.
The Chamber of Secrets, the second one.
That's number 3, isn't it?
That's 2.
Oh, it's number 2.
It's Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, because they have different titles in America and Britain for that one. That's number 1. Then it's Chamber of Secrets. Yeah. Then it's The Prisoner of Azkaban, where Gary Oldman comes into it from Slow Horses. And on the third one, they start to get darker and more serious. So 1 and 2 look very Spielbergy, like from the 80s, have that look about them. But then once Alfonso Cuarón and all, comes in, he's like, right, it's dark and let's jet up. We're taking you into horror territory. Then they do get really good.
Wow. Because, I mean, like the first one, at the end, I was elated just like I was at New Hope. You know what I mean? You've got the throne room music cranking up. You got Chewbacca roaring, and you've got C-3PO and R2-D2 without dents. They're very clean and shiny. So I was blown away. And that was so controversial because it's like, oh, a movie about witches and warlocks and stuff. And I'm like, bedknobs and broomsticks. Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
How did she get around and pull everything out of her her bag? So yeah, man, it just people forget, and it's like, oh, the world's going to hell because of Harry Potter. No, we're
going to hell
fine.
anyway. Harry Potter's along for the ride.
Did you in the times that you've been to the United States, and I don't know that there's a Disney park over in England.
No, there's one in Paris, but I've never been to it.
Oh, okay. But if you get a chance to do the Harry Potter ride, it is fun, man. And you're on this arm, this crane, and moves you around and sweeps you past things. And I mean, it's a really fun ride. So
nice.
Yeah. I got to do it twice because my stepdaughter was taking because you can't carry anything on the ride. And they said, oh no, you're going to have to stow it all down here. Turns out there's lockers up on the top floor too. And so we kept waiting for her to come around the corner because we waited in line, right? And she got stuck. And when we got out, she had some tears going, even though she's an adult, but she was very disappointed. So I went and talked to one of the Imagineers or Disney whoever's, right? And I told them what had happened, and they said, we will fast pass all 4 of you. So I got to ride it again. But it wasn't, I mean, like, fast pass is fun, but on the other hand, you miss all the cool stuff, all the things that entertain you along the way. So, but anyway, if you get a chance, man, you should check it out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a busy October coming up, so I'm storing all my horror movie reviews to do a podcast with Chris from the Bind Torture Cast. He'll probably listen to this, and now he's like, oh shit, I guess I'm doing something in October, because he didn't know, because I told him. But I'm also starting up my own PR company in October.
Are you really?
I am indeed.
Man.
It's been on the cards for years. It's always something I wanted to do, and some kind soul has been helping me out in the background, and I'm ready to roll at the beginning of next month. With that. So
nice, man.
So I've been busy doing lots of bits and pieces in the background with that. The level of contacts I've got is kind of like mind blowing. So it's, whereas I'm used to being somebody that gets sent a press release to put it on my little website, talk about it in the podcast and go, doink. Then I will hopefully become the person who does the sending out of the press releases to pretty much everywhere on the planet, and also talks about it on podcasts and stuff. So
nice.
That's my October. So I've been busy creating like pitch letters and price lists and things, and I hate spreadsheets. I'm sick of them. That's always, and I've just been staring at spreadsheets for the past couple of weeks, going to check all these contacts out. But that's probably my major. It's not going to impact any of the podcasting or anything like that. I'm making sure that there's still two avenues that the streams won't get crossed, so to speak. I think the only tricky part that I'll do is I won't be coming onto a podcast or writing an article going, "Hey, Neil paid me some money. I've just watched this film. It's the best film I've ever seen. Screw Citizen Kane. Watch Neil." You know, that sort of stuff. That's pretty much the only thing that I'll have to sideswipe around. But
gotcha. Yeah,
could be fun times. So
yeah, that leads directly to my next question. Do Neil and I get a discount?
Yes.
With your PR. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I nearly said you 100% do, but I didn't want you hearing that thinking it's 100% discount. You'd be like, yay, I'll send you all this shit through.
Right.
Hey, buddies, send it to me. I'll send it to him.
Right.
So, but yeah, there's all that stuff going on. So
yeah.
That's been
if you need a logo or anything, man, I mean, I'm sure you've already got everything tightened up, but if you need a logo, man, I'll be glad to do it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So what's work for you at the minute? What projects are keeping you amused?
Every morning, Michelle gets up at 4 and to do her commute, because my commute is 2 flights of steps. Of course, I always go past the cafe, i.e. kitchen.
Yes.
And fix breakfast, and then I do the final half flight of steps. But it's every morning. It's hard for me once she tells me goodbye. I'm kind of awake after I've conversed with her, and so I've been writing on the book series, and then I usually get up around 6:15 and have breakfast and stuff. So the writing of the book, that's been just fun for me, and then I do my 8-hour workday, which is doing ads for their TV shows. So, and it's, I mean, it fills my time, but it's nothing really creative. I'll take that back. It's very creative, Stuart. It's fun. Yes. Yeah. Just in case, someone listens. But anyway, man, it's, I'm down to one more prop to finish up. That's Hellboy's Samaritan.
Yep.
And dude, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I mean, it's, we're doing a lot of, I mean, like replacing windows and reinsulating the attic in the house. And so those are kind of distractions. We've got a new garage door coming in. So, but I mean, man, other than writing the novels, I guess that's really about it. Although I'm still doing a lot of drawings and stuff on my iPad, which is fun. That's more therapeutic though, man. It's kind of like, instead of coloring like some adults do, I draw stuff from scratch. So
well, my therapeutic stuff's this is my and then I just so happen to turn it into little videos and a podcast afterwards, but this is my therapy. So
yeah, man. Well, it's funny, earlier in the week you asked if I was free, and I said I think I can fit you in on Thursday, which was just kind of a stereotypical saying, right? But you very kindly said, only if you have time. Dude, I would make time for this because I enjoy it. So this is a part of my therapy too.
Nice.
And I caught up with a buddy of mine, Mark Laster, the music guy, earlier in the week, but we don't podcast. And so, no one gets to partake of that. But you and I have fun talking about movies and TV and stuff. And so, yeah, man. The only other thing that I've been doing is trying to figure out how to get the guitar I want from Fender. As far as I'm picky about the frets and the neck of the guitar and all these other aspects of a Stratocaster. But I used to have one. It was a blonde Strat, kind of like Clapton had. And then a buddy of mine wanted to borrow it and said, look, I'll just buy it from you, and then you give me my money back when I'm done. And then some drunk bastard dropped it and messed it up. So I said, no, I'm going to keep your money. You can keep the guitar. The neck, instead of being straight, it was kind of like this. And
that's not good.
no,
No. Some weird sound would come out of that.
100%. So I am guitar shopping. And if any of your viewers know where I can get a Conan sword, it can be made out of aluminum. It doesn't have to be, like a true broadsword, but made of iron or whatever it was. But man, I got to thinking the other day, that is probably one of the last things that I really want to add to my collection. So I'm getting to the point where I've got all the Blade Runner guns up. And now what's left, man? I don't know.
Conan sword. Now we're talking Conan the graphic novel, Conan the Barbarian, or Conan the Destroyer, or have I shown my lack of Conan knowledge because it's all the same sword?
I would go with Conan the Barbarian, the first one that Schwarzenegger was in. Although I was a big fan, grew up on the comic book, Conan and the comic books and stuff. And the reason I was kind of rolling my eyes wasn't what you were saying as much as in the beginning, I was going to have the one DL-44 from New Hope, another one from Empire, and another one from Return. Yeah. And then turns out there were 2 in New Hope and 3 in Empire. And so, you've seen my collection down there on the wall, man. Yeah. So I would like to say I'll just have one Conan sword, but as soon as I get that, then somebody's going to say, hey, check out this one, comic book accurate. Dang, And then,
We'll start off with one. We'll try and get you one. So hopefully, right. If anybody is listening, tweet at John Fouts or drop me a message where we can get a Conan sword.
Because I really don't want one that's 3D printed. I would like an aluminum one. And when I was a kid, my granddad used to work on cars, and he would restore the outside, and a friend of his would restore the engine, and they'd sell it. And it just gave them perfect retirement money. And they had these lift bars or something in the car, but there were these big pieces of metal. And I asked my granddad, can I have one of those? And because surely they're at a car lot somewhere, like a rust bucket kind of thing. And he was asking me what I wanted it for. And so I want to grind it down. I want to have my own Conan sword. And I think it would have weighed easily 100 pounds, if not more. And I was young. So, but have one out of aluminum. I just think that would be fun. And then
would work.
That way I can go out into the backyard and sling it around and have fun.
So next, you'll be podcasting with one arm at some point. Yeah. You're going to try the Beastmaster thing with the... I used to be able to do that. I
did too, man.
I could do it.
Did you ever play with nunchucks?
No, because I'm not really... I've had nunchucks in my hand, and I'm like, I know for a fact if I do that, I'm smacking myself in the face with it. So I never really got into the type thing.
We had nunchucks of various... hefts, including some that were so heavy that that was always the deterrent. If some nerd came up and was just like, oh, let me try it, then I'd put the lightweight ones up and I'd give them the super heavy duty ones, and bang in the back of the head, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. So but we used to do bow staff fighting in the street. That was always fun when cars would come by. And yeah, man. Fortunately, we weren't crazy enough to use real knives in our knife fights, but we would try that too, man. We had rubber tontos. So, yeah, man. That's all
crazy.
A part of
my like being childhood. A kid. So we are going to delve back into both our childhood again. So it's a perfect segue for something man. There, John. So last time we chatted, we spoke about what it was like watching Star Wars back in 77 or 78 for me, and basically growing up with what would become A New Hope. We're going to tackle Empire Strikes Back in this segment, which I did say we were going to do. So thankfully, the film came out in 1980 for both our countries. So there was no big gap this time. Obviously, Lucas is like, I'm going to make some money here. Let's all bring it out in May 1980. So what are your memories of living around the time when The Empire Strikes Back came out. My first question is, because I can't remember the answer. I really can't.
Yeah.
To me, I remember Empire coming out, and that was it. I don't remember
Yep.
the run up to Empire. I don't remember there's a sequel to Star Wars coming out next year or the year. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
It just sort of, it was there. Do you have any memories of it?
I think
In the run up?
in one of the sci-fi magazines, they had a shot of Darth Vader in his ball of life or whatever, and it showed the back of his head. So it was like, wow, man. And that was the only glimpse. But that was the main thing that kind of caught my attention. And I remember it was a good friend of mine, Mike Scarborough. Not that anybody knows who this is, but he and I were very tight, and from kindergarten all the way through high school and beyond. And so it was his birthday. His dad rounded up a bunch of us rowdy kids. They had a huge conversion van. It would probably, like look weird nowadays, since those kinds of vans have such bad reputations. But back in the day, man, it was awesome. And we drove over, or we were driven to Concord, North Carolina, to the mall, and went in, and that was where we saw the movie. But I can still remember it wasn't like burned into my psyche like going to see Star Wars, where I was just like, there's just magic, there's electricity in the air. But we were so excited to go in there, and yeah, dude. I mean, from the opening crawl, the 20th Century Fox into the fanfare and all that, dude, we were glued. And then I remember talking about it all the way home, and then for weeks, because that's what we did. There was no let's look it up online and see who liked what. Does this suck or whatever, man? It was just, and it was Star Wars. So I think everybody knew not to be sacrilegious around us and say any disparaging comments.
Not that I think there were any disparaging comments. I mean, nowadays everybody's like, Empire's the best one. To me, Jedi is my favorite one. But people, Empire is held up as one of the better sequels to a really good original film. I don't remember anybody going, that sucked. But again, like you said, there was no internet. There was no. You had newspapers which wrote proper reviews. There was no like, this film sucks. Darth Vader claims he's Luke's dad and all that sort of stuff. There was none of that. It was all very serious, I think. But I have more accurate memories of watching Empire than I did Star Wars, because I was 6 or 7 years old when I saw Star Wars, so I don't really remember that far back. But I was 9 when I watched Empire, and those were my cinema years, of sort of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. I remember watching it a few times in the cinema. I remember being blown away by just the crawl and not knowing what you're going to see. Now we'd know, because we see trailers and stuff like, oh, this happens, blah, blah, blah. Just going in, not having a clue.
Ultron, right?
How can they do a follow-up to Star Wars? It all finished, and they got the medals, and I'm pretty sure Vader's alive, because his ship went spinning off into the thing, and you're like, okay, so he's not dead, but is he going to come back? And it was just this whole sense of wonder about what am I going to see, and it was an amazing time watching it.
100%, man. I think it's almost like if you are only fed every other day and you just get that big fat juicy hamburger, it doesn't matter. You're not as picky about what you're going to eat. You just enjoy it. And I think certainly Empire was amazing, but I think too, man, we were waiting 3.5 years to get it. And then there was another 3.5 years to get Jedi. And man, it was that. And then you think about the ending. I don't think there was a cliffhanger in any movie I'd ever seen before. And so wait a minute, this is where they're ending? Wait a minute, what's going to happen to Han? What? Lando and Chewie are going out? What? Luke's got a new hand? I don't understand. What's
Han's in
you're actually
carbonite, and
right,
Vader's lied
right,
to Luke. There's no way he can be his dad because it's got to be Ben
right.
Kenobi that's Luke's dad. That's what I think. And
Yep.
there was none of this. Screw that shit. I'm out of here. Nobody
Yeah.
really got mad. It was just like, when are we getting another one? Are we getting another one? What's going on?
Yep.
But there was no internet to check this stuff on. You're like,
Yep.
are we getting more? It was the most
Yep.
painful 3 years between Empire and Jedi as a child could have. Short of being locked in a cellar and not fed for 3 years, I think maybe, probably beats it. Hey, look, son, I've got you a new pager from Europe. Yay, thanks.
Right.
That would be a bad idea.
Yep.
And toy-wise and merchandising, I think it had kicked in really big from Empire.
Yeah.
It was you couldn't escape the merchandising. What Star Wars merch did you have around the time of Empire?
Oh man, I don't remember when the the full size Millennium Falcon came out, but that's what I wanted consistently every Christmas, and I never got it. But I got a bunch of the figures and stuff. I mean, you've got the bounty hunters, and that was one of the things that I meant to do was to bring because I've got the Darth Vader case from the 70s, and that's got all my old figures in it. So yeah, I meant to bring that up. But I was trying to think. I still don't think we had lightsabers at that point. I don't remember, but I remember
there were cheap and nasty lightsabers, but that might have been Return of the Jedi. The sort of you hit them and then boink, they bent. Oh,
right.
That sort of thing. I never had one, but I saw one, and I'm like, no, that wouldn't last 5 minutes with me.
Yeah, well, that, and then I remember. Now this is jumping around as I often do, but it's like when Phantom Menace came out, I didn't want to pay for the Darth Maul lightsaber, the legit one by Kenner. So I got an off-brand one, and then I had I can't remember if it was Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan, but anyway, the nice one from Kenner, which is just better plastic. And a friend of mine came over, and he had seen me, like lightsaber dueling with the kids, and he said, "I want to take you on." So I said, "Well, which lightsaber do you want?" "I'll take Darth Maul's," thinking he was going to be a true badass. And anyway, I whacked him a few times, and then I came straight down for his face, thinking that he would block it.
He didn't.
The blade broke, and I smacked him in the face, and he said that was enough.
Oh, I quit. Darth Maul took his ball home and didn't play for the rest of the afternoon.
That's it, man. That's it. So going back to Empire, what did you think when Darth Vader said, "We can rule the galaxy as father and son"?
I thought the whole Vader speech to Luke, I'm like, you're lying. It's not. No, you're not the dad. I genuinely thought this is going to be big.
Genuinely like Luke.
Yeah, no. I like no, that can't be right, because your brain goes back to what Ben says. Oh, you killed your dad. And I'm like, why? Ben wouldn't lie, and it just.
Right.
I needed therapy, I think, after that, because it's like for 3 years. Until Jedi came out, you were like, maybe why have you not done your homework? Oh, I'm trying to sort this old Ben Kenobi Darth Vader thing out. I can't work it out. I genuinely thought, no, that can't be.
Yeah,
that can't be true.
At that point, there was such a trust in George Lucas as a storyteller. We knew things would be right. I mean, like, we knew we were going to get an explanation in Jedi. And so versus now, I don't know. It's that other shoe to drop, whatever that saying is.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
With a lot of TV shows and movies where it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a franchise, and you're just like going, man, I don't know that you're gonna be able to pull this ship back up and fly back into space.
Like Ahsoka, I'm really hoping to be season 2, but I don't know if there's going to be. Well, hopefully there is, but
well,
I didn't really pay too much. There
is.
is. But with Empire, it's like I really do like Empire. I think for me, my least favorite part of Empire is the Dagobah stuff, because it's like the first part I can appreciate it, But it's like I don't really enjoy rewatching all that stuff because you've got the Hoth battle, which is amazing. Then you've got Dagobah, and you're like, okay, it slows it all down. You're like, I know all this dialogue, and it's fine and whatever. And Yoda's not one of my favorite characters. And then it gets to Bespin, and you're like, and we're up and running again. So it just seems to, valley and mountain type thing.
Well, what did you think when Luke went into the tree or underground or whatever and fought Vader, and under the mask was Luke?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That doesn't. No, I don't even know. So I've got one of those brains where it's like, if I can't work out the answer to that, I'm just forget it. I'm not interested. I'll move on. Let me think about AT-ATs and Scout Walkers and stuff again. But no, that never made. And then as an adult, you go, okay, now I get it. It's only when you're in your 20s or 30s you go,
right.
Now I understand that thing in that PG U certificate maybe. Now I get it. What about yourself? What did you think when you first saw it?
I thought I like blinked and missed something important. I really didn't comprehend when I was, that age. And that was certainly a good talking point when we got back to the van and we were headed home. Although I think we went out to Pizza Hut afterwards. So I think that was probably a good time to, eat and share and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, like you look at, and all the things that we didn't know about the set, where there was really a bunch of water and it was stagnating and it was, I mean, like what they went through for us, man. And Frank Oz as Yoda. What is that? There's a video. Oh, what is it? It has something to do with throwing rocks at gulls or something. But anyway, it's making fun of the whole Yoda thing. I'm sure you've seen it. But anyway, Yoda was certainly not my favorite. The fact that he looked like a puppet, it just, I mean, but whatever, man.
It's like I can appreciate Yoda and I appreciate everything that went into the Dagobah filming, but I'm like, kind of like my least favorite. Like that would be a moment where you go, just check my emails while that's on, because I've seen it a lot of times. Obviously, as a kid, you were like, I'm transfixed. Who is this weird character? Yes, it looks like a Muppet because I'm still watching the Muppet Show because that was on the TV at the time.
Right.
But yeah, I did, and I saw Empire a few times, I think, in the cinema. I was doing some research because and I don't know how your brain is when you think back to when you watch things and how often you watched them and when you bought them on videotape and stuff. But it kind of blew my mind a bit. So and I've written these down, and it's one of these. I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, the internet tells me this is true. But is it? It messes with my brain. So Star Wars came out in 1977.
Right.
It was, where have I got it? It didn't come out on videotape until 1982.
Wow.
I think if I've got that right. Yeah, apparently.
I think that sounds about right, man, because it took forever. Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know that VHS was that big back in the day.
No, I mean, VHS was early 80s to sort of, a couple of years after that when it really took off. But your brain thinks, well, Star Wars came out in 77. This is the part that just messes with my brain. And you go, I remember seeing it at cinema, and I know I've seen it lots and lots of times before DVD and before the special editions and stuff. You're like, well, where did I watch it? Yeah. Was it on a TV broadcast? But apparently it wasn't on TV until like 1985 or something stupid, or 80. Wow. It might be 82 actually. I'd written these things down, and it's just like, where did I watch this film so many times? It was re-released in 1982 with Empire, so there was a double bill.
Oh, wow!
Which I did see.
Been good.
I remember seeing that.
I saw that. Yeah.
And that was worldwide, so you could go watch some. Like, okay, so I probably saw it in 77 or 78. Then probably a couple of times. Then I saw the double bill in 1982, and then they did a triple release probably around about 84 or something, 83, 84 with all three of them. And I remember seeing that twice in the cinema in the same day. So all three twice, and I watched all of those. But it's like Return of the Jedi didn't come out on VHS until 1986. Empire didn't come out till 1985.
Yeah.
So all these people bitching and moaning, oh, why is Deadpool not on video on demand yet? Screw you. We had to wait like 5 years for The Empire Strikes Back to hit videotape. And
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't on TV until after that.
Right. Well, there was such a process where it was in the movie theater, and then what was it like? Maybe 9 months later, it would be on HBO if you had it,
Yeah, which we
and
didn't over
then
here in the UK.
yeah, and then it was months after that, then it could get a VHS release because they
Yeah.
wanted to make as much money as possible. And now everything is just digital. I mean, like, and whatever you want to see as I mean, like look at Borderlands. I mean, that was in the theater,
Yeah.
and then 1 week later, boom, I could watch it down in my own theater. So
That's,
yeah, man.
it blows my mind. But I was looking at all those dates when like Star Wars and Empire and stuff came out on VHS. I remember buying them or
Yeah,
renting them, and I'm
yeah,
thinking those numbers can't be right because I'm sure I would
yeah,
have seen it more. But it's just, we're obviously going back in our brains like 40 years or whatever, so it's a little bit tricky.
right,
But
yeah.
yeah, kind of
And then
crazy.
there's the whole Mandela effect. I mean, so really,
Yeah. Yeah, so I have no definitive answer as to how I think I've watched it more times in those
yeah,
early days than I did. But I remember I watched the double bills, I watched the triple bills. I would have seen
yeah,
Empire a few times at the
yeah,
cinema because the local theater that I had was a 3-screen thing, and Empire would have been on for months, and I would
yeah,
have gone back like once every couple of weeks, for example,
yeah.
to watch it. But I remember getting really excited because my brother had a lot of the figures, so therefore when he wasn't in the house, I had a lot of the figures. And it's like in the wintertime with the snow outside, that was Hoth.
Oh wow, man!
And in the
Yeah,
springtime and the autumn and the fall, as you call it over there, you go where
right,
that would become Endor.
right.
And there was like a building site near my house
Yeah,
that was the sand, that was Tatooine. And so it
yeah,
was just like you go outside with these figures and you just make up your own
yep,
little stories and just reenact the
yeah,
things that you've seen on screen and stuff.
yeah.
So
Well, that and
I always wanted an AT-AT, and I eventually
yeah,
got one as a fully grown adult. But
yeah,
that was always something that I wanted on my deck, a bit like you with the Conan sword.
right. Because yeah, the AT-AT I have was a model kit, and it was weird how all these things were in a box that somehow came back into my possession, and it was probably when we moved into this house, and then I put it all up into the attic, and then I'm up there looking through, like, well, where's something that I deemed important, and I open this thing, and there's all my old model kits, and including that and he's a little imperfect. There are a couple things that broke off, but he
Yeah,
still looks good, and he's on the shelf with a bunch of other stuff surrounding him. So
yeah,
but yeah, man. But going back to your question, why do we think we've watched it so many times? If you had the soundtrack like I did,
did
then
yeah,
every time I heard it, man, I was watching the movie again. And so I
yeah.
think that further kind of helps us to believe that we saw it, a dozen times before it hit VHS.
I wish I had a record of how many times I saw it at the cinema and re-releases because it's
Hmm.
when I was looking up the numbers of when it was on TV when it came out on home release, it's like that doesn't make any sense. It just took me right back to he can't be Luke's dad. This is mental. So yeah, it did sort of throw me a bit, but it probably is
Yeah,
a certain Mandela effect. But listening to the soundtrack, and then obviously, I
yeah.
think also as a kid, you would watch a film once and that would be burned into your brain.
Oh yeah. Well,
Whereas
especially
nowadays, you're like, what
something
did I watch
like
last
Star
night? I
Wars.
can't remember.
Right. Well, because it is kind of like a fast food meal, too many
Yeah,
of them. But then you have something that is, steak and potatoes with chicken, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel like a Viking king. So, yeah, it really leaves a mark, and I think Star Wars is, you know, I it was there's a documentary about Planet of the Apes, and I had no idea that there was such a following of Planet of the Apes that they would have cosplay and all this stuff. And but I mean, those people are older than you and I are because I think Planet of the Apes were in the
60s.
what was it, mid
Yeah,
'60s? Yeah.
60s. Yeah,
And so Star Wars for us was Planet of the Apes for them,
yeah.
and it just anyway, man, but it's interesting how I guess every generation up to a certain point had that movie, that series or whatever that just really meant something to them. And I wonder if these current generations have that because there's so much entertainment, man.
I think maybe Stranger Things
Yeah.
is possibly a thing, because I remember when the last season finished and you would go online and I'd stumble into these Facebook groups. People
Yeah.
were obsessed by it. My God,
Yeah.
when's the next season? And I like Stranger Things. I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll watch the next one when it comes out. But I'm not like, how many days till the new season? I'm not one
Right.
of those. But there are
Yeah.
people that are like that. They're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
the best thing I've ever seen. And you look at it and you're like, it's not. But for them, it
Yeah.
is. I'm sure our parents, when we were like obsessed with Star Wars, were like, come on, it ain't no On the Waterfront or East of
Right.
Eden or Rebel Without a
Right.
Cause. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
realism?
Bridge over River Kwai. Come
Yeah,
on. That's
exactly.
the Alec Guinness that we knew. Yeah.
But yeah, I keep thinking about the ending of Empire Strikes Back. I can't remember what my thoughts were. I don't think I was like, what? This is the terrible ending. I just remember being so excited. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
how long are we going to wait to find out what happened? And I wasn't angry
Yeah.
about it. I'm like, I want to watch some more. I want some more stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think, when I saw Star Wars the second time in the movie theater, and this was up with my dad's parents up in Williamsburg, Virginia, and it was a different crowd, man. I mean, like, it was a good crowd the first night, but this crowd would applaud, and they were so excited. And so when everybody was getting the medals, then everybody in the whole audience stood up and applauded like it was theater, man. And
Yeah.
so, but I mean, we knew that was the ending. And I think Empire had such a surprise ending where it's just like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Until next time. That I think that was my takeaway was I was so enjoying it and I didn't want it to end. I was satisfied with New Hope because it came to a conclusion. But this one just said, Band-Aid off. Till next time,
But it also, I mean, even though it's until next time ending, I still feel that the ending kind of worked. If they never made another one, I would still be okay with that. I think I'd be like, I'd like to have found out whether they got Han back and all this sort of stuff. But if that's I remember being sort of calmly, rather than, what? This is an outrage. Give me my money back. It's half a movie, for God's sake. It felt to me like it was closure, even though it was ramping into something that we would then have to wait 3 years for, and we would be tortured children until we saw Revenge of the Jedi, as it was going to be called.
Which was very un-Jedi like, right?
Yeah. But I remember seeing the posters for Revenge of the Jedi. You do still see them now and again. You can look online for them, and it's not too different from the Return of the Jedi one. But it was a few years until we would get that conclusion to the classic trilogy. So so the video that I did last time where we talked about Star Wars, I put that on the Star Wars YouTube channel. And then it did okay. People were watching it. It's not doing too bad. But then there's a Star Wars group on Facebook, which is the Star Wars phenomenon in Britain. And it's a pretty populated Facebook group, and it deals obviously with Star Wars phenomenon in Britain, but only before 2005. So I thought, what, I'm going to share the last video we did, and the numbers went. So people in that group have been watching. So I mentioned last week that we're going to be doing Empire. So a shout out to everybody in that group who actually watched our last conversation. Hopefully you watched this one. Otherwise, you're not getting a shout out because you didn't hear us say it.
Right. It's funny, man. It's like I never check my IMDb rating. I just don't care these days. But I checked it the other day because I was checking on this other this buddy of mine was asking me if I'd ever heard of this one movie that they were planning on making, blah blah blah. So anyway, man, my IMDb is I mean, for me doing nothing and promoting nothing, it's pretty high, man.
This is not nothing, impressed. John. This is not nothing.
Oh, that is true.
This is me doing my publicist thing.
That is, and it works.
I'll take that credit.
But but yeah, man. So that was, but so yeah, I immediately, Michelle said, well, it's probably you and Stuart. And I'm like, you know what? That's a
Yeah,
good point. Probably. Yeah.
probably. I won't take the
Yeah.
credit, but it probably is.
Yeah.
Yes, it probably is. But yeah, so the group that are watching this video is
Yeah.
quite. This is only within the past couple of days I shared it in there. I'm like, and then I've just seen the
Yeah.
numbers ramp up. So I'm like, that'll
So
do.
would
So
they, with me being a Yank, would they let me join the group,
yeah,
or is it English
no,
only?
because you and I are talking about,
I got you. But dude,
and
I would
I'm
love to
obviously
be a
I've got the
part of
British
that.
side
Yeah.
covered. We're getting Americans, so they
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
they can't chop a podcast up and just have my
Right.
voice in there and cut you out. That's too much editing. But it's quite an
Hey.
interesting group. So it's everybody just sharing like cereal
Yeah.
boxes from the 70s and all. It's like, wow, all this weird nostalgia.
Oh wow, man, that is very awesome. Yeah.
So they will be
Do you?
listening to us talking about The Empire Strikes Back within
Yeah.
the next day or two. So thank you to them as well.
Nice. Hey, so you'd asked me what what I bought after Empire, what
Mm,
what figures or whatever. So there was certainly a lot of Bespin figures
yeah.
and Hoth um and so there was more to collect. But what did you get?
I had both the Bespin security guards, so
Hmm.
black guard, white guard. I ended up with
Right.
Lobot, but nobody really liked Lobot. They're like, I don't know why. I don't know why they like Lobot. Didn't really bother with the Yoda, because you looked at the Yoda one, you're like, I could get
Right.
this for a couple of dollars or whatever, or I could get this
Right.
one. I'll go for that one because it's bigger.
Right.
I had a lot of the Hoth stuff, so like the Rebel
Yeah.
Commander with the
Do you have
mustache and
Tauntauns?
I did have a taunt. I was thinking about the Tauntaun earlier, and I think I
Yeah.
mentioned it on one of the unboxing an unboxing video I did. And not a fan of the Tauntauns because there was a slit down the middle where you could put the figure in. You can only get the feet in, to be fair.
Right.
But the guy's still going to freeze to death. And then if you had it for a while, the legs became loose, so you'd stand it up and it just go like that. You're like,
Oh
well, that
wow,
kind of
man.
just like a dead Tauntaun. I don't want a dead Tauntaun.
You don't
So
want a dead Tauntaun unless you have that slit underneath you can put Luke in, right?
it didn't work. You couldn't fit the whole figure in there. So I had a lot of the
Right.
figures.
Yeah.
I think years later I ended up getting a snow speeder, which is still one of the coolest vehicles.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool vehicle.
Yeah.
And I had the Han Solo in the blue jacket,
Yep.
his Hoth
Yeah.
gear. Had that. Princess Leia. So I had a lot of around that time. It was like you didn't struggle to find the figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about
So
yourself?
do you? Man, again, I had for whatever reason, my sister wanted to get a Tauntaun as well. So I've got two Tauntauns.
Really?
And I mean, it was fun, man. So yeah, Tauntauns certainly. I'm probably forgetting some of the figures. I remember I had Luke and Han in their Bespin gear. I did have Yoda, but I think that was the Yoda with the plasticky little thing that just
Yeah.
versus the one that actually had like a pullover kind of thing. What else, man?
Did you have
But, I
some of the
mean, that
bounty
was.
hunters? I had a Dengar.
Yep. I had
Which
Bob.
years later I would
Yeah.
sit on stage with the guy who played Dengar in Q&A,
Yeah.
interview him. So I'm like, that's kind of really, that's me
Yeah.
geeking out as an adult. Like a few years ago, I'm like, I got to chat with
Yes.
Dengar and Greedo, which was just
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah. I think I had.
Zuckuss,
Yeah.
Forlom, I think
Yep.
was one of the bounty hunters. Boba Fett, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Just him standing around. I don't think he had any dialogue at all. I think he just nodded. No, I think he did speak
Yeah,
at the end. Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he spoke a little bit.
yeah. But yeah, I had a handful of those and trying to think. I picked up some more stormtroopers and
Did you have a
I was
snowtrooper?
fortunate. I did, man. Yeah. That not my favorite stormtrooper though. I think the biker scouts are my favorite. I love the
like the biker
traditional
scouts.
helmet, but biker scout, man. And they Kenner the Black series is coming out and with their own version. Maybe it's out now. And I don't remember the mask flipping up. I don't think we ever saw that. but that's the way they built their mask.
No, the only time I think with the biker scouts, which obviously is Jedi, not Empire, but it's like when they all capture all the Imperials, and you see somebody like under gun, and they've got the biker scout thing on, but they've no helmet. I don't think you actually see it. It's been a while since I've seen Jedi. To be fair, I need to revisit that. I probably will before we resume for the next.
Yeah.
Nostalgia
Well, I'll
chat.
try to watch it too. It's funny. That's one of the things that I've been wanting to do is rewatch the original trilogy. And ironically, on a completely different yet Disney note, when like you turn on the Disney Channel, they have the big posters at the top, and one of them was Lion King, and I think it's the 30th anniversary, something like that. And which I didn't realize it had been that long, but of course it has. But my son was so young, and that was the first movie that I took him to. And we watched the movie, and of course, being a small town, we knew the lady who owned the theater, and I knew everybody who was working there. And so when we get to the end, and Matt is used to watching VHS, where it's like, rewind, let's watch it again. That dude would sit there and watch Mary Poppins, rewind it, and watch it again. So that was his comment. I said, well, did you like it? And he was like, rewind. And he had a very limited vocabulary. Yeah. And so Pearl, the owner of the movie theater, said, oh, that is so cute. And I said, so can we watch it again? No, not a ticket. So
wow.
Yeah.
But as a kid though, it's like I remember watching Empire more than once, because you would just movie theaters didn't really, certainly a small town I came from, they weren't really that bothered about it. As long as you didn't mess around, you could sit there and just watch it. Nowadays, you're like, oh, out. But, but you could do that as in our youth.
Yeah. Well, that, and then as long as Pearl wasn't there, I knew everybody who was working there, and they would just, I'd walk past them, they'd give me a free drink and free popcorn, and I'd go in there and just sit and watch whatever. I mean, I think it was $1.25. So it wasn't like they were out huge money like nowadays, but yeah, man, that was fun. And then there was one Laura Wines, and I'm just name dropping like it means anything to anybody, but
it does to you though. It's nostalgia stuff, isn't it?
It does. Well, and I'll try to recommend that. How's it going, gorgeous? You want to make a cameo?
Oh, is Jake showing up?
There you go.
How are you?
That's my hot and sexy wife. You hear about
Hi,
her.
Michelle.
So. He's saying hello.
Yes.
Yeah. I forgot. I have AirPods in.
Yeah. I'm like, well, she's quiet because she's like.
Yeah. But anyway, where were we? I got distracted once my wife came in the room. So.
I can't remember. I think we were talking about Pearl and sitting down watching movies again and again.
Yeah. So Laura Wines would run me out. She would come in there, and she knew that I had gotten in without a ticket. And there was one night, and I think I've already shared this on your podcast, but I'll do it again just for but these two girls were sitting in the back, and I started to leave, and they knew what was going on. They said, here, just take our ticket. And so then I showed Laura, I was like, I even have a ticket. And she goes, I know you got it from those two girls. You still need to leave.
Oh,
yeah.
mean woman.
It wasn't like she was built like a Russian tank. I mean, she was a little bitty, skinny chick, and
she had the power.
I was brawny. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
then all my buddies were laughing when I was leaving. They were like, "Oh, I got kicked out." So anyway, but that was that was the chance I took. But again, $1.25, man.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the arcades, which we had one. I mean, those were 25 to 50 cents per game. Yeah. And we were throwing quarters in there, and yet for $1.25, we could go and see a movie and be entertained for
Heaven's Gate for like 4 hours or something. So now that Michelle's home, we are being kicked out of this podcast, which is fine.
There you go. But this has been fun.
It has.
So send me a link so I can connect with the British Star Wars group.
Yeah, it's a good group, good bunch of people.
And I'll post some of my old stuff too, man.
Yeah. Definitely. Just make sure it's before 2005. Well, they'll come
Oh
after you.
yeah.
Because
Do
I
we have to
posted,
show the? Yeah.
I posted one of my unboxings in there, like from Ahsoka. They're like, they deleted the part. I'm like, why? They went, oh, it's on before. And I didn't realize it was before 2005. So I'm like, I'm sharing the
Right.
conversation John and I had, and they went, yes.
Right.
So
Do
okay,
we
I learned
have
the
to
rules.
do a close up on their butt where it says 1977?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a thumbnail that says, and I've got one prepped for the Empire one as well. So we'll do
Right.
that. But yeah, you enjoy the rest of your day, John.
Well, I hope you do too. I know yours is steadily wrapping up. So
it is, but I've ended it on a very good moment.
yeah. And dude, I'm excited about you launching your own PR company. So
me too.
be sure to send me more information, man. Anything I can do to promote it, just
I will
let
indeed.
me know.
Will
Yeah,
indeed.
man.
All right. Well, you take care, John.
All right, dude.
I will chat to you soon.
It's been a blast, man. I look forward to the next time.
You too. Take care. May the force be with you.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
and with you. Bye.